Hi.
Hi.
Sorry about the delay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. You know, I've done a lot of public speaking, but this is going to be the toughest moment of my public speaking life, I got to tell you. We're here for you. Thank you. I might need some cheerleading. Okay. This is my number one cheerleader. If there's anybody out there who doesn't know who I am, I'm Valerie, Dana's big sister. I always used to tell her, I'm the older sister, so I get to tell you what to do, and she would say yes, but I am so much more mature than you. And it's true, she was. So, you know, this is both the most difficult thing I have ever had to do in my life, but it is also the greatest honor of my life to be up here. But I wrote down here that I'm going to cry. Of course, I already am crying, so this seems a little redundant, everything I'm reading right now. And when I cry, then I can't read because I'm all blurry, but that's okay. And I'm bringing you along this ride with me, so I expect you to cry in solidarity. But we can shed our tears together and celebrate those tears, because, you know, each one that we shed is just evidence of all of the great memories that we had with Dana, and really great evidence of the impact that she had on the lives of every single person who is here today, and those people that are watching this streaming around the world. I know someone's watching in Australia, right? Okay. I figured out that the best way to be able to get through this, though, so that I could get through it, is just to make you laugh. So, I'm going to make you laugh. Okay, well, Dana's going to make you laugh. That's what she would have wanted. You know, she was a total goofball. And, of course, you guys all know that. I mean, she was like a professional goofball, right? How can you be both? But she did. In my opinion, her sense of humor is what made her really so special. So, I'm going to tell you, to try to make you laugh a little bit today so that I can get some levity and dry up my tears a little bit, to tell you a couple of the great, infamous backstories that you might not actually know about Dana. Some good inside info, like the time she lost her pants at my 40th birthday party. Remember that, Brett? We never found them. To this day, we never found them. And what's worse, or what's best, is that none of us can even remember how she might have lost them or got home back to my house without them, since we never found them in my house. I mean, anyway. I wish I still had that picture. There's a picture of her with a towel wrapped around her waist the next morning going, I don't know where my pants are. I think it was at the gay bar. So Dana was 20 months younger, but more than that, Dana is my oldest and dearest friend. I've known her since the day my parents brought her home from the hospital. She was born on Dana time, though, 3 weeks late, and she's never been on time since. Has she? No, that's what my mom always says. Has anybody here ever seen Dana arrive early for something?
No.
Yeah, no. One time? What? Oh, Bill said one time, probably to fly in your airplane. Right. Because she knew you might take off without her. She wanted to be there. So Dana came into the world just past noon on August 2nd, 1968, at Stanford University Hospital. 21 inches long, almost 9 pounds, because she had 3 extra weeks to cook. So if she ever told you that she went to Stanford, that's actually what she meant. I called her my baby doll, and I immediately fell in love with her. I have the photo of the moment that my parents brought her home from the hospital and put her in my arms. I hope you guys can see it.
Yeah.
If you look closely, she is wailing her head off, and I might be sticking my thumb in her eye. But despite that rocky start, we were very tight. We slept in adjoining beds until I was in the 6th grade. We wore coordinating outfits from like pajamas to winter coats to bathing suits. And when I went off to preschool, Dana wanted to come with me so badly that she potty trained herself in 2 days. She was 2 years old. So, because she couldn't go to preschool unless she was potty trained, and she wanted to go so badly. So that tells you something about Dana's determination, which was immense. We moved to Oregon from San Jose in 1970 to Eugene, to a wonderful house with a big backyard and a lot of blackberry bushes. We picked a lot of blackberries and plums. And you probably heard the stories, and it's true. We also picked dandelions for our salad, because our dad made us, but still. But that's because from a very early age, our dad was trying to teach us, that sense of survival, which he really, really, really instilled in us. So if you're wondering how Dana became such a warrior, that's how. Dana had a hemoglobin deficiency, though. And she had pneumonia 7 times in 4 years. And so the doctors told us that we needed to dry out for a while. And so we actually moved to Missouri for 3 long years. And this is where Dana took her first dance lessons, and you guys know how much she loved to dance. It's where Dana survived a tornado that came within just a few blocks of our house. And it's where Dana developed her first crush, and also kind of set the gold standard for husband material later on, because that man was the $6 million man. So if you're wondering, you did rise to the occasion. But we moved back to Eugene in 1977. That was the year Star Wars came out. On Halloween, Dana went big that year. She and my dad created a life-size replica, maybe larger than life-size replica, of R2-D2. Meanwhile, I was a gigantic pack of bubblegum, but that did not last, that costume. But Dana's was so legendary that 30 years later, when my own daughter wanted to create a legendary Halloween costume, she and my dad recreated that one. Wow. Yeah. We moved to Ashland when Dana was in the 7th grade. And it was here that Dana really started to blossom. She went from being a little girl to a young woman. And it's here that I want to stop for a moment and give you a multiple choice quiz. It's going to tell me how much you really know Dana. Which of these things were Dana's claim to fame during her high school years? In high school, was Dana a star soccer player, along with teammate Jamie McLeod-Skinner? Was Dana a cheerleader until they found a bottle of champagne in her locker and suspended her from the squad? Or did Dana act and star in a number of educational films, including It Could Never Happen to Me, in which she played a teenage drug dealer who became paralyzed in a traffic accident? Anybody? Exactly. How many of you knew that? I mean, I know it's not like really common information about that champagne ordeal, but
I was on that squad.
yeah, were you? Did you get kicked off too?
Oh no.
No, just her and Heather. You know you're a good girl.
Here's the soccer player.
And of course, there's Jamie. There's the soccer teammate. You guys were a great team. First year that Ashland High had soccer, had girls soccer, but maybe soccer altogether. Yeah, 1985. 84. So it's also true that Dana dropped out of high school. She did not finish high school at Ashland High. She dropped out so that she could get a jump start on her college career. She left town, went to Eugene again, and went to the U of O. And I don't know if she started off as an architecture major. I know she was learning Chinese at first.
No, she didn't start out.
No, I
Very
don't.
quickly thereafter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I do remember she was learning Chinese. She had a cat named Ni Hao. But of course, you guys all know that architecture was her calling. And when she graduated, she immediately began a long and respected career in Portland as an award-winning architect and project manager, focused on a lot of civil and institutional projects, including the Beaverton Library. And who do you think she met at the Beaverton Library and fell in love with? Oh, it was the architect. Right. And of course, Dana, who had said, "Oh, I'm never going to get married again," proposed to Brett in front of the entire family on Christmas, and he could not say no. She presented him with an Ing Bank hat,
No,
and they got married behind a creek.
no, I stole that from Lorne.
Oh, you stole it from Lorne. Well, I guess you really wanted to be an Ing, didn't you? So they got married by a creek behind their cabin on the slopes of Mount Hood on June 21st, 2005. And it was an honor to be one of the 4 people who got to marry you. And pretty much all of us are here today, aren't we? Are we all here?
Yeah.
All 4? I think we are.
Yeah.
All 4 of us. And it was an honor again and a blessing to get to share your wedding anniversary with you on the summer solstice. When Eddie and I got married a few years later, we had to ask for permission. We're like, the 21st, it works for us. Does it work for you? So Dana was the first person I told when I, of course, proposed to my husband. That's how we do it. So together, Dana and Brett won both of the AIA Portland Design Awards for their 2008 1310 condominiums project. But both would agree that the best design they created together was this one right here in 2007, when Lena came along. And you have no idea how many years in the making that was.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Oh, yes.
And I think if you ask Dana, bringing a daughter into this world was the highlight of a pretty incredible life. And this is a woman who was kissed not once but twice by Yo-Yo Ma, who learned Spanish so that she could have a conversation with famed architect Santiago Calatrava, who then drew a picture of her in return, and a woman who traveled the world to the art-filled cities of Italy, France, and Spain, the beaches of Costa Rica, Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, and the mountainous wilds of Alaska, Canada, and South America. And I know some of you traveled to those places with her, and how lucky you really were. But then she returned home to Ashland when Lena was ready to start school. They built their dream house, and Dana became a principal partner at ORW Architecture, where some of her projects included working with the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, the City of Talent, Phoenix High School, and Southern Oregon Friends of Hospice. In the architecture world, Dana will forever be remembered as the Velvet Hammer. And I don't exactly know how she got that title, but I bet someone here could tell us. It is a nickname well earned, though, for her incredible talent to finesse the most delicate situations with gentle determination and humor. There's a few other ways, though, I think, to describe Dana. Love. Dana offered so much love to so many people. The song that we played right before I started my Dana talk, it's kind of like a TED talk, but for Dana. Nat King Cole's Nature Boy. The line in the lyric goes, "The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return." Dana knew it, understood it, lived by that. And I'm betting everybody here knew what it was like to be loved completely by Dana, so freely. And that you experienced her grace, her generosity, her compassion, and her pure love. I'm sure you all felt that. I'm really going to miss Dana's laughter and sense of adventure. Not, you know, just have we laughed so much as sisters and had adventures, but we've laughed about our adventures because there's a lot of hilarity in there. Like the time that we went to Italy and we had 6 $25 plates of pasta. That's $42 each in today's dollars. Oh my God, that was an expensive dinner. And all the game nights. Dana was always up for taking my dares, which led her one time to tap dance on a crowded street corner in Portland while holding lit sparklers and singing Mammy as Ethel Merman while inserting a certain word that we will not say right now in mixed company wherever appropriate. I did find the video of that. Along with a lot of other incriminating evidence involving a limo, many bottles of champagne, a mysterious man in white, and a love advice fairy. So we had some good times. But Dana was also a really, really good teammate. I think she understood the idea of being a teammate better than anybody I've ever known in my life. I'm talking about everything from being on soccer and debate teams to her architectural teammates at ORW and all of the other firms who were so lucky to ever have her working with them. 3 summers ago, when our dad was in hospice at the end of his journey, he decided he wanted to take a train ride through Canada with Dana and myself. And I'll tell you, this was a man who was in a wheelchair, on oxygen, and dilaudid, who also tried to take a quart-sized baggie of marijuana with him in his luggage. So you can imagine how difficult it was to navigate getting Dad on and off of airplanes and a double-decker train car to the hotels and back at 5 in the morning to the train station. Every time that we were faced with taking a step in any direction, Dana and I had to sit down and formulate a plan. I mean, it was Dana. You know how it was. We had to make lists with pros and cons and divide and conquer. I mean, how many people here have had to do that with her? Because she forced you to. Like, I know, let's go do a girls' getaway weekend at the coast, and we'll make a plan of all the things that we're going to talk about. Our life goals, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not available then. Anyway, we drank a lot of bourbon on that trip, but I'll tell you, this is that trip. During our last hours on that train ride, the one of the crew members came up to us and said, you know, I mean, our dad was passed out, dilaudid, but they said, you know, we understand how difficult that this trip can be, taking your dad on this, and we just want you to know that we are really impressed at how well you two sisters have worked together as a team. And it was like, oh, you see us, you get it, like that's who we are. So I have talked about Dana's amazing capacity for love and her determination and her team building skills and her sense of humor and zest for adventure, but I thought this might be a really good time for a few other people to get up and share a story. I know Darcy has one, because I'd love to hear an Ashland story, maybe a Portland story, maybe a work story. So
I just wrote, it wasn't necessarily a story, but I just wrote what came to me.
Okay, we want to hear it.
Hi everyone. Hi. The sun's kind of got me here, so excuse my hand in my face. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So I'm Darcy. I like to think of myself as one of the many of Dana's besties, and there's many of you out here. Can't see you all because the sun is shining in my face, but you know who you are. You know who you are. So when Val told me a few weeks ago that I might have the opportunity to stand up this evening and speak a few words about Dana, I tucked the idea safely in the folds of my mind to let the words simmer that wanted to be spoken. and I waited. Such a grown-up thing to do, I thought, while giving myself an imaginary pat on the back. Definitely something Dana would do. You see, my friend Brenda and I have often joked over the years that we wanted to be Dana when we grow up. So I put on my big girl pants, another Danaism, and waited to let the words come to me like a true grown-up person. I do have to admit that I had moments of panic over these last weeks, which is understandable because how do I possibly sum up the hugeness of the love that I have in my entire being for our sweet Dana? Because my heart just isn't big enough to contain it all. But then I was blessed with a peace that washed over me. Thanks, by the way, Dana, for that. And the peace let me know that if you're sitting here tonight, I know you can all access that huge love you have for her, because it wasn't possible to know Dana and not love her. So me trying to stand up here and explain the wonders of Dana isn't at all necessary. Although, side note, ding ding, if I were making a list of my favorite wonders of the world, Dana would be at the very, very top. So weeks passed and I finally awoke in 3 in the morning a few days ago, and the inspiration to write down some thoughts about Dana came to me in the middle of the night. So I decided to grab my phone and put the notes in the Notes app and just press record so I didn't have to actually physically type in what I was thinking, thus being able to more easily access that in-between sleeping state of closeness and connection that I had thinking of Dana. Beautiful things were thought, said, and then transcribed, as were some very hilarious things. However, in the beginning, the hilarious ones were just autocorrects that left me laughing out loud at the possibility that my sweet Chica, our favorite nickname for each other, was actually co-writing with me. So you guys know that loud, punctuating laugh Dana often would use. Sorry. I would need to do that. That's it. I was going to say I'm going to try to do an example of it. That is it. So when I saw the changes that the autocorrect did, that is exactly what came channeled through me. Ha! And so I was channeling Dana. I know it. And one of the changes was Dana's name being changed from Dana to Tina, a God wink of sorts, if you will, because Dana and I often referred to ourselves as Tina and Amy. And for those of you who have not, don't get the reference, you can substitute either Lucy and Ethel, Mary and Rhoda, or Laverne and Shirley. It's all the same. In fact, she compared us to all of those pairs in my last most treasured 50th birthday card I received just a few short months ago. Many memes we have sent over the years to each other included Amy and Tina. But in our case, we both secretly wanted to be Amy of the Tina and Amy duo. Okay, in all honesty, it was me who secretly wanted to be Amy. We all know Dana was the beautiful blonde. Okay, she was it. But I knew that the autocorrect, when Dana's name was changed to Tina, it was as if she was passing the Amy torch over to me and showing me that she was willing to play the role of Tina now. Another autocorrect came in the middle of a more somber passage where I was explaining the intensity of my love for my sweet Chica. It was incredibly touching, and you'll have to take my word for it, because I was laughing so hard I almost peed my pants when I saw what I thought it was, and so I just deleted it because I thought, this is silly. She's giving me a hint here. Don't be so heavy. So it was something like, how could I love another human that wasn't my child so intensely as my sweet Chica? And it was changed to, how could I love another human that wasn't my child so intensely as my sweet chicken? Pure Dana. You know, like when sometimes you're telling her a story and you might change the subject matter from very, very serious to silly in the blink of an eye. I don't know, maybe that was just me, but she never missed a beat or the opportunity to live life joyfully if given the chance, and revel in the moments of good old innocent fun. Don't ever take things too seriously, and especially life. That's what I learned when I was with Dana. That was such a damn lovable quality that she had, and she had it mastered. Dana was a force of nature. She was the most complete human being I've ever met. She had it all, checked all the right boxes for being a kick-ass person. I don't remember in this last decade ever being angry with her, much less even the least bit annoyed at all. I can honestly say she's the only person I've ever met that I truly believe I have loved unconditionally. Sorry, honey, if you're live streaming this. He knows I have conditions. And besides, of course, my children, but that somehow is built in with your kids when you hold them in your arms for the first time. I need to get my walk. Can I have a sip of that? Yeah. Okay. But now my life is forever changed having met Dana. I saw her true nature, her loving kindness, and her childlike joy, and she also saw mine. I love her so fiercely that it opened my eyes to know it's possible to be showing every human, not just dogs, unconditional love. So that is my work here on earth for the rest of my days. I have Dana to thank for it. I invite you all to consider being more Dana-like in your lives. And you can start tonight by checking all of your egos and insecurities at the door, and when it's time to do what Dana truly loved most, just dance. I hope you'll dance your little booties off like you think no one is watching. There are 3 things I know for sure about Dana. Number 1, she loved Lena and Brett, her entire family and friends, more than our small little human minds can ever comprehend. Number 2, she always going to be with us. And number 3, she will not only be watching tonight, she'll be dancing right along with all of us. So thank you for being here. All right.
Well, Portland crew. Story that doesn't involve sparklers.
Hey everyone, I'm Deb France from Portland, and I'm here with Amy Anderson. This feels like a stand-up routine. Amy and I met Dana 30 years ago when she was a new graduate and young professional just entering the architecture her career. And Amy was in the same situation, starting her own career, and I was the old lady, about 3 or 4 years older than the other two. And Dana and I were together in the same firm. She was assigned to a project I was working on, and so we worked together every day. Just today, as Amy and I were driving here, we were reminiscing about all the stories from our 20s, and some could be repeated and others probably shouldn't be, but there are a lot of joyful and wonderful moments that we've shared together over the years, including a tradition that started more than a dozen years ago when we would all gather and go to the coast together as an annual event, especially since the family was here and we wanted to keep our connection strong. And so every year we'd get together and drink wine and tell stories, and those lists that you were talking about, I completely relate to that. The three of us spent time together when 9/11 happened. It was the three of us that got together in my home and held each other's hands and supported each other. And on Sunday nights, we would all come together and watch Sex and the City in my living room and have dinner on Sunday nights. But one of the best memories I have is when we started a group of women called the Experience Club. And every month we would do a different, I wanted a book club. But I got my month was a book club, and then the other women overruled me and said, we want to do something different every month, and we get to pick. And one month it was bungee jumping. And Dana and the rest of us went up to Mount Hood. There was a platform, and you had to jump 100 feet to a pillow on the bottom, and I thought that was crazy, and we all did it. It took a little encouraging for me, but we all did it. And then Dana, who went feet first the first time, climbed back up and dove head first again, because she is just that fearless woman, and that's how she lived her life. And we loved her deeply. And I'm so happy we get to be together with you today. And thank you.
I have to tell you that when my daughter got to be about, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old, she would go and spend a week every summer with Dana and Brett in Portland. And do you think that my daughter went bungee jumping with me for her first experience? No. And when they actually reached out to me and said, do you mind if your daughter goes bungee jumping with us? I was like, are you better you than me. I was thinking it would be great to hear another story, maybe from ORW. Where's David? There you are. I know I totally put him on the spot, and then he's like, I have about 12 stories.
So, in the past few weeks, when I've told people about Dana, I've heard two words dozens of times: light and energy. So many people talked about Dana in terms of how she would bring so much light to a meeting, how she lit up a room, how she had such great energy and enthusiasm for her work.
That mic right in your face. Right.
Sorry. So it makes sense that Dana, the daughter of a rocket scientist and a professional fundraiser, would bring that light and energy into the world with her. And now all of Dana's light and energy have been released into the universe to remind us of how much she loved us. As a colleague and business partner, Dana was always fair and firm, but with the gentlest possible touch. Dana would prod us to be our very best selves, both personally and professionally. And they called her the Velvet Hammer for a reason. But Dana was also loads of fun and could be counted on to bring her light and energy to the party. I recall one very memorable margarita night when our partnership was just forming, and lots of other parties for the company, including a very over-the-top murder mystery dinner at Dana and Brett's lovely house. Not only did Dana make everyone feel welcome, but she also encouraged everyone to try something new and brought everyone out of their shells. Dana was definitely not afraid to try something new, and I could always count on her to try to taste test my latest cocktail recipe and my maple bourbon bacon ice cream, even when I put in twice the amount of bacon it called for. So always the epitome of diplomacy. Dana just described it as pork forward. Another thing I loved about Dana was her driving, because honestly, she drove like I did. I remember one morning on the way to work, she cut me off barreling down Strawberry Street while she applied makeup with one hand and steered with the other, made a hard left onto granite without jumping curb into Lithia Park. Kept on going. I knew then that she was partnership material. A few years later, when I told her that my son's WRX would do 60 in second gear, her eyes lit up, and we both just cleared our calendars for that. And when Dana got sick, she handled it in typical Velvet Hammer style. She dove into the problem head first, did her research, developed a plan, surrounded herself with trusted experts, and in the end, took charge of the schedule and exited with grace and poise, just like she always did. So to honor Dana's professional life and legacy, ORW Architecture has established a scholarship in her name to help young women in Oregon attend architecture school. Interested in donating or in serving on the selection committee, please let us know. We'd love to have everyone's support as we honor and continue Dana's legacy.
You just reminded me of a time that we went to the Pinehurst Inn one night and we raced. She beat me. Yeah, we took the side road, the Tyler Creek Road, and she went 66. And man, I'm surprised we made it there. Whoa, that driving. You know, I know each of us has amazing memories to share about Dana, and I want to encourage everybody to, of course, share our memories with each other tonight, but also there are those wonderful, fabulous cards that Brenda and Darcy put together, and they are in there. There's cards for you to take with you so that you can have a remembrance of Dana, and cards for you to write some memories on that will go into a beautiful box and stay with Brett and Lena. So I encourage you to write some memories on those and enjoy those beautiful photographs. That is one of the truly treasured things that we are always going to have, are those photographs that you took of her throughout your lives together. I do want to, I'm almost done here. Because you know what it's time for? It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's from Dana. For you. I want to make sure that everybody here knows how special you were to Dana throughout her life. I am thanking you for her. For those of you who have been with us since the beginning, Mom, Ed and Susie, and those who have been a part of Dana's life, you know, since pretty close to the beginning, through school, those who knew Dana as a developing woman, to her Portland squad, to her Ashland gang, to the ORW family. I want to thank you for Dana for being a part of her life. She was fortunate to have you, and vice versa. She loved traveling the world with you. And a special thank you to Darcy and Brenda and Patty and Michelle and Sheila and the team at Louis and Eddie and Jackson and Tony for the special roles that you each played in Dana's life at the very end of her journey. It was a big one. From the flowers to the ukulele chamber group to the nourishment. I could probably do this all night, but each of you knows you are special to her. Thank you. So with that, I just want us all to keep Dana's spirit with us in our hearts and remember and celebrate her this evening in exactly the way that she would love, by raising a glass in her honor, or a few, and toasting her and loving each other, and of course dancing to some of her very favorite music.